Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Multi-Voice Entertainment. I am Multi-Voice Reviewer. I have many voices, but one opinion. And I have to ask you guys, did you enjoy the Cluedo audio I made last week? I mean, I had a hard time trying to round up some people to do the voice for the first episode I ever made, and it also took me a while for my friend Eric to do his lines for the for that butler who is an undercover detective. But I was kind of surprised that everything just went out really good, and I was really proud of what I've done so far. And for those of you who are going to be asking me what I'm going to be doing episode 2, I'll try. I may have to round up some more people to do the voice for episode 2 of Cluedo, and of course bringing Eric back to reprise his role. But right now I got a lot on my schedule. Like I have a Halloween special to do, like the Phantom versus Dracula in the opera, and of course I'm working on a Doctor Who event. A Doctor Who event where it's going to involve not just me as the Doctor, but tons of other Doctors from other universe. So I'm going to be creating a huge multiverse event. So, as soon as I might be done with my Halloween special and my Doctor Who, I'll probably be able to be working on the second Cluedo. But besides all my audio, when I did that Cluedo, it just got me thinking. My next review is going to be none other than Knives Out. Now, it's just like what everybody else kept saying. Knives Out is like a new version of Clue. If anybody loves the movie Clue, which I like to recommend people to check out the movie itself, Knives Out is a lot like Clue in a way, except it's not going to be like Who Killed Mr. Bodywearing with What. And what Knife Out, and I had to say, if Agatha Christie was alive today and saw this movie, she would have loved it and probably kicked herself saying, why didn't I thought of that kind of story? This is definitely a whodunit movie, and what I'm going to be telling you about it, here you go. It all starts with a really popular murder mystery writer who goes by the name of Harlan Thrombey, played by Christopher Plummer. Now, Harlan Thrombey, a little known fact, a lot of people did say they took the name Harlan Thrombey from that Make Your Own Adventure book called Who Killed Harlow Thrombey. Of course, I never got any Make Your Own Adventure books because, the only thing I have is Give Yourself Goosebump book, and the one I have is Horror in a Little Comic Shop. A Little Comic Shop of Horrors, that's what it's called. Where you make your own adventure in that story. Are you going to go to the comic book world of superheroes or the comic book world of horror? But enough of that. Let's get to the story. Harlan Thrombey, he was a really famous mystery writer, and he made a lot of money. He was like the self-made man. But he also has a family. And the family, they're pretty shady. Because after he killed himself by slitting his own throat, one police detective named Lieutenant Elliot, played by LaKeith Stanfield. Lieutenant Elliot would say that this is an open and shut case of suicide. But this private investigator who goes by the name of Benoit Blanc, played by Daniel Craig. Now, that's one thing I gotta say about Daniel Craig. I mean, I've seen him on the Tomb Raider movie, where sadly Angelina Jolie couldn't do a good British accent, and Daniel Craig couldn't do a good Northern American accent, but he did do a pretty good Southern accent. What is it with British people who can do Southern American accent better than doing a Northern American accent? And of course, one thing I cannot get over is Daniel Craig, where he's trying to make his analogy. He says, well, there's a donut, there's a hole, and inside of a donut's hole, there's a hole inside of a donut's hole. A donut's hole and a donut's hole. You really do have a dizzy intellect. But one thing it kind of bugs me, though. One thing it kind of bugs Blanc is this. Even though it's an open and shut case of suicide, it's somebody mysteriously hired him somehow. So now he has to consult with Lieutenant Elliot in order to figure this whole thing out. Is it really a suicide? Or was it attempted murder? So, let's get to the suspects, shall we? First off, we have Linda Drysdale, played by the always talented Jamie Lee Curtis. She is the daughter of Mr. Thrombey, and she kind of made her own company from the ground up, just like her dad. And he does love her in a way. It's just they have their own odd relationship in their own ways. Like, they always send each other's messages. The father always gives her a blank piece of paper, but every time she turns on the lighter and puts the lighter next to the letter, the words pop up. Which, it's an old-fashioned routine of using lemon juice and writing it with lemon juice, so it would be invisible ink, and it only shows up if you put a light next to it, and the lemon juice burns quicker than the note, so you can see exactly what it says. Next suspect is, of course, Richard Drysdale, played by Don Johnson. I guess when he's not too busy being in Miami catching down drug dealers, he marries Jamie Lee Curtis. But here's a little something a little shady. It's pretty shocking here. Turns out that Richard Drysdale has been cheating on Jamie Lee Curtis with another woman, and of course Harlan knew about it, and he told him, "You better tell his daughter about it, or he will." And he was like, "You're ruining my life here." And of course, you have Walt Thrombey, played by Michael Shannon. Now, Walt Thrombey, he is he's like the younger son of Harlan. So, pretty much, he runs the book company. And, now, one thing I gotta say about Michael Shannon is that he's always been really good playing threatening, intimidating kind of people. Hell, if I was an actor and he is guest starring in my movie, I wouldn't even go near him because, he would terrify me. Like my uncle-in-law. But it turns out that he runs his book company, but the problem is he wants to make more money out of his books because he said that Netflix wants to make a deal to make a film adaptation. But Harlan says, no, I don't want any of my books be an adaptation. He'd just rather keep it as books, never a film. But of course, Walt wants to make film adaptations so they can make more money out of it. But Harlan says no. And then you have Joni Thrombey, played by Toni Collette. Now, one thing I gotta say about Toni Collette, I know her from Australian movies she have done. I mean, she's a really talented actress from down under. It's kind of surprising to see her playing a suspect in this murder mystery. Now, she's not exactly related to the Thrombey. She was married into the Thrombey because she married one of Thrombey's son who died in an accident, so she's sort of a widower. And she's trying to make her own company called Phlegm, which is some sort of a skin lotion. But she's been taking money out of Harlan's funds and making excuses, saying that she was trying to get it so her daughter can go to college. And speaking of daughter, here's the next suspect, Meg Thrombey. Shut up, Meg. Played by Catherine Langfield. Now, one thing I gotta say about Meg is she only does what her mother tells her to do, but sometimes she likes to be away from her mother by just have some fun by smoking some pot. That's it. And she's a good friend to one of our main suspects, which I'm going to get to soon. And of course, Walt has a son named Jacob Thrombey. Now, Don Johnson and Jamie Lee Curtis say that he's like a neo-Nazi because he spends his entire life on his phone. Some people say that he's watching porno films on his phone or just looking up things on his phone. Doesn't pay attention to his own surroundings, just more attention to his phone. And of course, Jacob is played by Jaden Martell. And of course, another suspect who is a member of the family, Ransom. Now, Jamie Lee Curtis and Don Johnson's son, Ransom Drysdale, played by Captain America himself, Chris Evans. Now, Harlan did say about Ransom, he says that he reminds him so much of his younger self, always outgoing, always doing things. But of course the problem is, Ransom never get a job in his life. And turns out that Harlan's been paying for him to do whatever he wants without even getting himself a job and get himself a life from that. Until all of a sudden it turns out that Harlan decided to cut him off. And that's why he yelled at him and took off. And of course there is Fran, who is played by Eddie Patterson. Now, she's the maid. She's very loyal and everything. Now, and of course we get to our main suspect, that Blanc noticed some potential about her. Marta Cabrera, played by Anna D. Armisen. Please forgive me for trying not to pronounce her last name right, but she's a very beautiful actress, and she's from Cuba, which I'm pretty surprised of. I mean, she's the most beautiful Hispanic actress I've ever noticed, in this movie. And her job, she's a nurse taking care of Harlem from all those years. And Harlem, he starts to like her because being a nurse, she's been being more like a caring daughter to him, to Harlem. But here's something about Marta you should know. She has a very regurgitation ability. Every time if she tells a lie, she has to puke, because that's her problem. She has to tell the truth. If she lies, she has to throw up. Now let's get to the story, shall we? Now, throughout the story, it turns out that Marta accidentally gave him the wrong medication, and she thought it was a good idea that she would call the doctor so they could save him in time. But Harlem, he didn't want that. He wanted her to do exactly what he says, and she doesn't have to lie about it. She just had to pretend to be him and go downstairs so Michael Shannon would spot him and say, "Go to bed, Dad!" And of course get to the car, drove off. There's a secret passageway to an open window. And after all that had been done, that's when she found Harlem, and Harlem grabbed one of his knives and just slit his own throat, and that's how he died. But here's a little known fact. There was a splash of his blood on her shoe. And Blanc wanted Marta to stick with him to help him solve this case, because one thing that he's so puzzled about is who hired him. Since this is a suicide, why is he being hired to declare it a murder? And then in the reading in the will, it turns out that the lawyer, played by Frank Oz, read the will, and it turns out that Harlem decided to give his entire fortune to Marta. And now the family is being in an outrage. Couldn't believe that their dad decided to give their money to Marta instead of any of the members of the family. And also there's an evidence going on about the whole deal with the medication that she accidentally switched. And she's being blamed for it, blackmailed. And then the next thing she noticed, the hospital who had the note was burned. And then she went to a warehouse next to the laundromat, and she found the body of Fran, and looked like she was boosted by that same medication. The man, what is it? What is it called that they? I mean, people can die from that certain medication. I think it's Valium. I think. Well, anyway, in her last breath, she said, "You did this. You did this." Now, one thing I gotta say, it's kind of surprising to me. In the movie, before Fran died, Fran told Marta that she said this is just like that that Hallmark movie called Deadly by Surprise, starring Denisa McKellar. Now, that's one thing I gotta say about Hallmark movies. I mean, I do enjoy murder mysteries in Hallmark movies. I mean, Hallmark movies been doing pretty good in their... I mean, I enjoyed their Merlin movie. and I do enjoy their Sherlock Holmes. And I gotta say, Hallmark does a pretty damn good job on murder mysteries. Just don't get me started on Lifetime. I freaking hate Lifetime because it's just a bunch of drama. And every time when I watch a Lifetime original movie drama, I freaking hate it. Because those Lifetime movies give me nothing but hatred. And Grandma, she just wants to watch them, and I hate them. Even my Aunt Shelley, when she watches Lifetime movie, I need to go upstairs because I can't stand it. I can't stand Lifetime movies. In case you're wondering, I'm just using my index finger. It kind of looks like I'm giving the finger, doesn't it? Nah. And of course, I try to explain to my aunt that Lifetime movies piss me off. Every time I watch a Lifetime drama, it just pisses me off because all I get is nothing but hatred from that movie. It just makes me really pissed off. And she said, well, it had a happy ending. And he said, well, it doesn't make me happy, it just doesn't make me more pissed. I'm just not a big fan of Lifetime. Hallmark, I enjoy their murder mysteries. But Lifetime, no. Makes me pissed. But the funny thing is, when they mentioned that movie, Deadly by Surprise, I tried to look it up. It turns out it was made up for the movie. The writer put the title and the actress in the script and had one of the actors talk about it, and they contacted Denise McKellar. She heard about it and she thought it was funny. She thought it was very amusing. Hey, maybe Hallmark should make a movie with that title and starring her in it. Hell, I would love to see it. But anyway, back to the story. Blanc read the letter. It had the medical thing in it. And it turns out that Blanc figured this whole thing out now. Turns out that she didn't accidentally gave him the wrong vial. Turns out that Hugh switches the serum. He switches the serum, making her think that she accidentally killed him, but she didn't. She gave him the right she gave him the right liquid substance. Because she's a great nurse. She knew exactly what to give him. So if she called the cops, it would have been a false alarm. But it turns out that Hugh, aka Random, Chris Evans, he switched the vials because Harlem decided to cut him off his will. And he was so upset that he wanted to kill his grandfather, I mean. So he switched the vials, but Fran saw him do it, and she was planning to blackmail him, but he gave him the same medication to her, and that's why her last words was, Hugh did this. Ransom's other name is Hugh. So when she said Hugh did this, she didn't say you did this, she said Hugh did this. So it turns out, it was obvious. Chris Evans was the killer. He just switched the vials, made her think that she gave him the wrong medication, but instead of doing what she's supposed to do, call the ambulance, he decided to kill himself instead. And keep her clean, get her out of the trouble. Trying to get her out of trouble. And of course, Chris Evans yelled out, okay, so I kill friends, so I guess I did. So what do you have on me? Attempted murder? I get arson I will get charged for the arson and a couple other charges with a good lawyer, which I have. I'll be out in no time. You know, the reason why he yelled out in rant and anger, well, turns out he wasn't angry when they did the scene, but he didn't act angry enough. So the actress who played Marta, she told him, "You're not Captain America." And that pissed him off, and that's why he was able to do that line. And of course, teasing Blanc when he heard him talk with his southern accent, he said, "CSI KFC?" And then when he heard what he talked about the house, he said, "Oh, shut up with your Kentucky Fried Foghorn Leghorn accent." But it turns out she lied. She told him that Fran survived, but actually, she puked on him, so that was a lie. Fran is dead. And his confession was recorded by Lieutenant Elliot. And as he grabbed a knife and about ready to stab her, it was a prop knife. And as for Jamie Lee Curtis, she found another blank letter, and she put a lighter next to it, and that's when she knew that Don Johnson's been cheating on her. So now, Chris Evans is arrested, and the Thrombey family, they're no longer part of the house. Now the house is owned by Marta. Now, I don't know about you guys, but this was a really good whodunit murder mystery. And now I hear there's going to be a sequel coming up on Netflix. And the sequel is called Glass Onion. And of course, Daniel Craig is going to be in it playing the same detective. And also I heard that Dave Bautista is there. I guess Drax is no longer being Drax. Now he's in a murder mystery. And of course, Kate Hudson is there too. Wow. Kate Hudson. She was a very cute actress. And she still looks great today. Well, this is my review for the day. If you enjoyed this murder mystery review, please leave a comment down below. Hit like and subscribe for more. And I may not be able to do another review for a while because my mom and I are going to go to the army for some role playing. But I'll probably come back next week. So see you guys later.